Everybody loves to talk about rights. They puff their chests out like they're walking around with a shield strapped to their back. I've got rights. Oh yeah? Where? Show me. I don't see any rights. I see wallets, I see keys, I see phones, but I don't see a big glowing ball of freedom hovering above your head. You don't walk out the door in the morning and bump into your rights. You don't trip over them on the sidewalk. You know why? Because they're not real. They're words on paper. And paper isn't magic. Paper doesn't protect you. Paper folds, burns, rips, and gets filed away in some drawer where nobody ever looks at it again. That's your rights. That's the thing you've been told is so sacred and permanent. They tell you these rights are inalienable. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? Inalienable, like they're carved into your DNA. Like the doctor slaps your ass at birth and hands you a certificate. Oh, congratulations, here's your lifetime supply of rights. Keep them fresh. But try using them when someone in charge doesn't like what you're doing, and suddenly, those rights look more like a coupon that expired in 1978. Oh, sorry, we don't honor that anymore. What happened to inalienable? Oh, that was just a slogan to make you feel better. The truth is, if something can be suspended, it was never a right to begin with. It was a permission slip written in pencil with an eraser waiting on the other end. Take free speech. Everybody brags about free speech. I can say whatever I want. No, you can't. You can say whatever doesn't scare or offend the people holding the levers. You can talk all day about the weather, your cat, your favorite brand of potato chips. But the moment you start saying something that actually matters, something that makes somebody uncomfortable, suddenly your free speech comes with conditions. Not here, not now, not like that, not too loud. They'll let you have it, but only when they're not using the store. Or how about privacy? Oh, that's a good one. You've got the right to privacy. Yeah, until someone in a uniform wants to peek through your curtains, then all of a sudden it's not privacy, it's an inspection. You ever notice privacy always works one way? They want to know everything about you. What you earn, what you buy, what you eat, what you read, what you sleep with. But the moment you ask what they're doing, it's classified. National security. We can't tell you that. Oh, but you better hand over every detail of your life. That's not privacy. That's a one-way mirror, and guess who's on the bright side? Not you. And don't get me started on the right to assemble. You can gather, sure, but only in the right place at the right time with the right paperwork. Nothing says freedom like needing a permit to be free. That's like needing written permission to breathe. And even then, they rope you off into a little a free speech zone. You know what a free speech zone is? The whole damn planet. But they shrink it down to a fenced-off patch near the parking lot. 3 miles from where anyone can hear you. Go ahead, shout about your freedom over there next to the porta potty. That's not a right. That's babysitting. And they love to decorate these rights with flowery language. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sounds poetic, right? Sounds like something you'd see on a motivational poster with a sunset in the background. But look closer. Life, they didn't promise a good life, just life. Congratulations, you're breathing, now shut up and get back to work. Liberty, you're free to do anything that doesn't bother them. You're free to spend your money, free to waste your time, free to watch television. But don't go stepping outside the lines or liberty calls in sick. And the pursuit of happiness, pursuit, you can chase it, sure. You can run after it until you drop dead in your shoes. But they never promised you'd catch it. The whole deal is built on a loophole. You can pursue it all you want, just don't complain when happiness files a restraining order. And the funniest part is how temporary these so-called rights are. Every generation has to march in the streets, screaming about the same damn things their grandparents screamed about. If rights were real, you wouldn't have to fight for them over and over again. If something really belongs to you, you don't have to keep demanding it. Nobody has to march for oxygen. Nobody has to protest for gravity. But rights. Every 30 years, people are out there with signs saying, "We want our rights." If you have to keep asking for them back, they were never yours. You're not holding them, you're renting them. You're on a month-to-month lease with freedom. That's the ugly secret. Rights are rentals. You get to use them for a while, as long as you don't make too much noise. Step out of line and the landlord shows up. Sorry, freedom revoked. Pack your things. And you'll say, but these were guaranteed. Guaranteed by who? The same people who took them away. That's like trusting the fox to guarantee the safety of the chickens. And when you do win a new right, when they finally scribble it onto the paper, people throw parties. They cheer. We did it. We got our rights. No, what you got was a temporary truce. You got the people in charge to agree not to step on you today. Tomorrow, who knows? Rights on paper are like ice cream cones on a hot day. They melt as soon as the sun hits them. You ever notice how much energy people spend protecting their rights? Lawsuits, rallies, speeches, campaigns. If rights were really guaranteed, you wouldn't have to protect them. They'd protect you. That was the sales pitch. But the reality is flipped. You spend your whole life guarding something that was supposed to be guarding you. That's not freedom, that's babysitting a broken alarm system. And the Constitution, that great sacred document, it's paper, folks. Paper written by landowners in powdered wigs who were mostly interested in protecting their money. It wasn't designed to save you, it was designed to save them. And they built in all kinds of escape hatches. Amendments, exceptions, loopholes. You think it's written in stone, but it's really just written in erasable ink. They can change it any time they feel like it. If your rights can be edited like a high school essay, they're not rights. They're rough drafts. And people will say, but we've got checks and balances. We've got a system. Yeah, the system checks you, and they balance the books against your back. That's the system. And the rights are the window dressing to make you feel like you're part of the deal, but you're not. You're the customer reading the brochure. Oh, look, honey, it says we have freedom. Yeah, and the hotel says it has a pool, but when you get there, it's drained and full of lawn chairs. So here's the truth nobody wants to face. Rights aren't gifts from the sky, they're permissions granted by people who have no problem taking them away. They last as long as they're convenient. They vanish the second they're not. They're not eternal, they're not sacred, they're not untouchable. They're not untouchable. They're scribbles on a page. And when the page burns, when the ink fades, when the paper gets tucked in a drawer and forgotten, so do your rights. Because rights aren't real. They're not gifts. They're not permanent, they're just permissions written on paper, and the paper burns. You ever notice how everybody walks around bragging about rights? Oh, we've got rights. We've got freedoms. They say it like they're walking around with some invisible armor that protects them from the world. People love the word rights. They put it on signs, chant it at rallies, teach it to school kids. They treat rights like some kind of magical inheritance you get just for being born. But you don't get rights when you're born. You get rights when someone writes them down on paper and tells you you've got them. And once something only exists on paper, it's about as real as monopoly money. You ever try to pay rent with monopoly money? The landlord doesn't laugh, he just evicts you. Same thing with rights. They look nice in a pamphlet, but good luck cashing them in when you actually need them. That's the thing about rights. They're not carved in stone. They're scribbled on paper by politicians who were already half drunk on cheap whiskey and self-importance when they wrote them. Paper. You spill coffee on it. There go your rights. A little fire, no more rights. A mouse with the munchies, goodbye freedom. You really want to build the foundation of liberty on something that dissolves in the rain. You'd be better off carving the Bill of Rights into a bathroom stall. At least that would last longer and more people would actually read it. And people like to tell you your rights are inalienable. That's a big word they teach you in school, right? Inalienable. Can't be taken away. Permanent. You're born with them. But somehow every time there's an emergency, those inalienable rights take a little vacation. Oh, sorry, we had to suspend those for a while, you understand? Suspend? If they can be suspended, they were never inalienable. That's not a right, that's a hall pass. That's a permission slip. You can go to the bathroom, but only during recess. They say rights are guaranteed. Guaranteed by who? The same people who keep suspending them. That's like having your car guaranteed by the guy who steals it every Friday night. Look around. Every so-called right you think you have is conditional. It comes with a list of exceptions. Free speech? Sure, but not too free. Not too loud, not too offensive, not in the wrong place at the wrong time. You've got freedom of assembly. As long as you get a permit, stay in the right zone, and don't upset traffic. You've got privacy, unless they decide they need to peek at your mail, tap your phone, or peek into your internet history. Then suddenly your privacy right is more like a suggestion. They'll tell you you're free, but they've always got a set of keys to your cage. And the people who write these rights, they don't need them. Politicians don't need free speech. They've got microphones shoved in their faces every day. They don't need the right to a fair trial because they're never going to be on trial. They don't need privacy because they live in mansions with walls, gates, and staff. The rights are for you, the little guy, so you keep believing you're safe while they're already safe because they own the cops, the courts, and the newspapers. The laws aren't written to protect you. They're written to protect them from you. And then you grow up with this fairy tale. This is the land of rights. This is the land of freedom. They drill it into your head at school right between math problems and history lessons. You're free, you've got rights. Yeah, sure. Santa Claus has a better delivery record. Only Santa shows up once a year with something you can actually hold in your hand. The government? They give you a right with an expiration date and they forget to tell you when it expires. They love to put it in flowery language. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sounds beautiful, doesn't it? But take a closer look. Life, not a good life, not a healthy life, just life. Congratulations, you're alive. Now shut up. Liberty. Liberty to do whatever doesn't bother them. You're free to watch TV, free to buy hamburgers, free to sit quietly. But the moment you do something that makes the powerful uncomfortable, suddenly liberty takes the night off. Another pursuit of happiness. Pursuit. They didn't promise you happiness, they promised you the pursuit. You can chase it all you want, but if you never catch it too bad, you still got what was promised. You gotta run around chasing something that was never really there. That's not a right, that's a cruel joke, and every generation has to fight for the same damn rights all over again. If rights were real, you wouldn't have to win them back every few decades like you're playing tug-of-war with the government. Think about it. If something is really yours, you don't have to keep demanding it. You don't have to march for it, protest for it, beg for it. Nobody has to march for air or beg for water. But rights? Every 30 years, people are back in the streets saying, we want our rights. If you keep losing them and begging for them back, maybe they weren't yours to begin with. Maybe you're just renting them. That's what rights are, a rental. You lease them from the government, and the lease can be terminated at any time. The landlord shows up, says, sorry, you were too loud, rights revoked. And if you're good, if you keep quiet and pay your rent on time, maybe you get to keep a few. But don't fool yourself into thinking you own them. You don't own rights. You're borrowing them. And the people in charge never let you forget it. And when you do get them written down on paper, people treat it like a huge victory. They celebrate. They throw parties. We won our rights. No, you didn't win anything. You just got the wolf to agree not to eat you today. Tomorrow, who knows? Rights on paper are like coupons. They look nice, they make you feel good, but half the time when you try to redeem them, they say, sorry, this one's expired. And people love to say, we live in a country of laws. We have the Constitution, we have rights. But have you ever noticed how often you have to remind the people in power about those rights? If they were really permanent, if they were really guaranteed, you wouldn't have to keep waving the Constitution in their faces. It wouldn't matter who's in office, what party's in charge, what crisis is happening. Your rights would just be there, solid, unshakable. But they're not. They're like coupons in the Sunday paper. You have to clip them, save them, wave them at the cashier. And even then the cashier might say, sorry, we don't accept that one anymore. And the truth is, the Constitution is not sacred. It's a piece of paper. A piece of paper written by landowners in powdered wigs who didn't want to pay taxes. It was never meant to protect everybody. It was meant to protect them. The fact that you get a little protection too is just a side effect. And when push comes to shove, they can always change the rules. Amendments, exceptions, loopholes, the paper changes whenever they want it to. If your freedom can be edited like a bad screenplay, it's not freedom. So don't let anybody fool you with talk of inalienable rights, guaranteed freedoms, sacred documents. What you've got are permission. Temporary permissions. They last until the people in charge decide they don't. They last until somebody gets scared, until there's an emergency, until somebody rich needs a new loophole. Then suddenly your inalienable rights vanish faster than a magician's rabbit. And you're left standing there wondering what happened to all that freedom you were promised. And if you're wondering how permanent your rights really are, just remember this. If you have to keep fighting to prove you have them, then you never really did, because rights aren't gifts. They're not sacred, they're not inalienable. Rights are just permissions written on paper. And when push comes to shove, paper burns. You ever notice how everybody's always bragging about freedom? We're free! This is a free country! Land of the free, home of the brave. They say it like it's a catchphrase, like they get a free toaster just for repeating it. People walk around like freedom is this endless buffet where you can load up on whatever you want. But then you start looking at the fine print and it turns out freedom's more like one of those all-you-can-eat deals that says all-you-can-eat chicken wings. But then the waitress tells you it's only on Tuesdays from 2 to 4, and only if you buy a drink. Suddenly, you're not free, you're on a schedule. That's what freedom really is. A limited time offer, non-transferable, and sorry, pal, no substitutions. They sell freedom the way they sell cars. Big shiny commercial, a guy driving through the desert with the wind in his hair experienced freedom. But when you show up to the dealership, freedom's got a $400 a month payment, 22% interest, and you're locked in for 5 years. That's not freedom, that's debt with a fresh coat of paint. And here's the kicker. Most people are perfectly fine with it. They don't care what the real contract says as long as the commercial looks good. People don't want actual freedom, they want the feeling of freedom. They want to hear the word, wave the flag, sing the song, and go home thinking they're free because somebody told them they were. And the word of freedom, oh, they love that word. They throw it around like confetti. Everything's about freedom. Freedom fries, freedom toast, freedom hats. They slap the word on anything. You could sell duct tape as a freedom tape and people would buy 3 rolls just to feel patriotic. But the more they use the word, the less it actually means. If everything's about freedom, then nothing is. It's just a slogan, a brand name. Freedom is basically a logo now. You don't live in freedom, you live in a commercial for freedom. And like every commercial, it looks a lot better on TV than it does in real life. Take free speech, for example. They tell you you got free speech and you believe it, right up until you say something they don't like. Suddenly you find out free speech is like one of those coupons that expired last week. Sorry, sir, your freedom isn't valid anymore. Maybe try again next month. You can say whatever you want, as long as you say it in the right place at the right time, with the right tone of voice, and preferably where nobody important can hear you. Otherwise, you'll get reminded real quick that free speech is actually rented space, and the landlord has rules. Or take freedom of assembly. You're free to assemble. Sounds great, until you actually assemble. Then you find out you need a permit. You need to stay in a certain zone. You can't block traffic. You can't make noise. You can't inconvenience anybody with actual power. You're free to assemble, but only if you assemble where no one can see you, hear you, or give a damn. That's like being told you're free to dance, as long as you do it alone in your basement with the lights off. Not exactly the inspiring vision of liberty they sold you in the brochure. And voting? Oh, they love to sell you voting as the pinnacle of freedom. You're free to choose your leaders? Yeah, free to choose between 2 flavors of the same corporate ice cream. Vanilla A and Vanilla B. Every 4 years they let you pick which millionaire is going to ignore you for the next term, and people treat it like a sacred ritual. They put on their little sticker, "I voted," like it's a badge of honor. Congratulations, you just selected which salesman gets the corner office. And the best part, whoever wins, the policies don't change much, but the commercials keep getting better. Freedom is having the right to choose which ad campaign makes you feel less depressed. Even the so-called personal freedoms come with strings attached. Freedom is the brand name they slap on everything to make you feel better about being owned. You don't live free, you live in a franchise, and freedom's just the logo on the sign out front. So here's the truth. Freedom is not a guarantee. It's not a fact. It's not even a state of being. Freedom is a product. It's marketed, packaged, and sold to you every day. And just like every product, it has a warranty that expires the minute you actually need to use it. Freedom looks great in commercials, sounds inspiring in speeches, makes for a hell of a song at baseball games, but the receipt clearly says, non-refundable, no exchanges, and management reserves the right to deny service at any time. That's the real freedom you've got. And you better hold on to the receipt, because someday, someone's going to ask to see it. You ever notice how people talk about laws like there's some kind of magical shield, some holy blanket keeping everybody safe? Oh, the law will protect you. Oh yeah, the law protects you the same way a screen door protects a submarine. It looks like it's doing something, but the minute the water shows up, you're screwed. People have this picture in their head that laws are these noble guardians standing tall between them and chaos. Meanwhile, the guy who wrote the law is cashing a check from the very people it was supposed to keep in line. Laws aren't about protecting you. They're about protecting the people who already own everything worth protecting. You think the law is there to stop rich guys from ripping you off? No. The law is there to make sure when they rip you off, it's legal. They don't steal, they adjust market conditions. They don't rob you, they leverage financial assets. They don't mug you in an alley, they just put on a tie, go to work and mug you from the corner office. And if you try to point it out, they say, hey, that's capitalism. Funny how capitalism always seems to rhyme with you losing money. Look at history. Every single time they pass a law, it's dressed up with some fancy title, something that sounds wholesome and protective. With the Fairness Act, the Protection Act, or the Freedom Act. The Freedom Act? Come on. If they have to name a law after freedom, you can bet it's not about freedom. That's like calling a donut shop a Slim Waist Bakery. Whatever they're selling, it's the opposite of what's on the sign. You know what the Freedom Act should have been called? The Shut Up and Do What We Say Act. Because that's what it did. And people applauded it, because people love a good slogan. They'll trade in their wallet, their rights, and their sanity as long as the slogan makes a good bumper sticker. And who enforces these laws? The people with the badges, the people with the uniforms. They don't serve you. They serve the laws, and the laws serve the money. You can be as right as you want, but if the law says you're wrong, guess what? You're wrong. That's the end of the conversation. Because the law doesn't care about right and wrong. The law cares about legal and illegal. Two completely different universes. You could be the most moral person in the world, feeding orphans, rescuing puppies, helping old ladies cross the street. But if you forgot to sign the right form, congratulations, you're a criminal. Meanwhile, some billionaire poisons the water supply, but he had the right permits, so he's an entrepreneur. That's the difference between morality and legality. One keeps you up at night, the other keeps you out of court. And you ever notice how laws are like spider webs? They catch the little bugs, but the big ones just fly right through. You get caught jaywalking, parking in the wrong spot, smoking the wrong plant in your living room. They'll fine you, arrest you, drag you through court. But when some corporation launders billions of dollars or bribes half the government, suddenly the law gets sleepy. Must have slipped through the cracks. It was a parade, man. It was a 10-ton truck of money with neon lights and a marching band, and somehow it has slipped through. Yeah, slipped right into their campaign funds. People love to say, nobody's above the law. Really? Nobody? That's adorable. The people who say that are usually the ones already under it, being crushed by the weight. Nobody's above the law? And explain why the people making the laws never seem to suffer from them. If you or I get caught with something small, we're finished. If they get caught, it's a misunderstanding. They issue an apology, maybe resign with full benefits, and go work at some think tank. Nobody's above the law. Hell, the people who are supposed to be of the law are usually the first ones climbing over it. And have you noticed how laws always seem to multiply when they want to control you, but vanish when they want to control themselves? They'll write 3,000 pages on how you're allowed to recycle your trash, but when it comes to regulating their buddies on Wall Street, suddenly the pen runs out of ink. You need a permit to build a deck in your backyard, but they can deregulate entire industries over lunch. Your kid can't sell lemonade without a license, But international banks can gamble away the economy and get rewarded with bailouts. Laws don't stop them. Laws cushion them. You break the law, you get a cell. They break the law, they get a golden parachute. And here's a good one. They say laws create order. That's the sales pitch. But what they don't tell you is, whose order? Because it's not your order. It's not order that benefits you, it's order that makes life smooth and predictable for the people at the top. They don't want chaos. Not because it's bad for you, but because chaos is bad for business. They want predictable workers, predictable consumers, predictable voters. Laws are the leash, and you're the dog. And every time you think you're running free, you're just circling around the same goddamn tree. And don't you love how every law comes with punishments, but never promises? The law doesn't say you will always be safe, healthy, and taken care of. No, the law says if you step out of line, here's what we're going to do to you. It's all threats. The law is basically a mob boss in a robe. A nice little life you got there. Be ashamed if anything happened to it. Better follow the rules. Then who wrote those rules? The mob boss's friends. You think you live in a free society, but you're really living in a protection racket with paperwork. And the funniest part, people still respect the law like it's some sacred text. They bow to it, they whisper about it, they think justice is blind. Justice isn't blind, justice just has bad eyesight. Ostonin. She's squinting, looking for the wallet size. If you've got the money, suddenly justice has 20/20 vision. If you don't, she's blind as a bat and you're going straight to jail. And people accept it. They accept it because they've been told since birth that the law is there to keep them safe. Safe from who? Safe from the people writing the laws, because those are the only ones I see getting away with murder. You ever notice how laws get stricter the poorer you are? If you're broke, every little thing is illegal. Walking here, standing there, loitering, littering, spitting, breathing too loud. There's a law for everything you do. But if you're rich, the law bends. Suddenly, it's all a complex financial arrangements and a policy consideration. They don't even use the word crime anymore. It's irregularities. You steal a loaf of bread, you're a thief. They steal a pension fund, it's an irregularity. That's the language of the law. It's not written in English, it's written in loophole. And who writes the loopholes? The same people paying for the laws. That's the real kicker. The law is written by the people who need protection the least, and enforced on the people who need protection the most. It's like having wolves write the rule book for the hen house. Rule number 1, hens must stay quiet. Rule number 2, wolves get free chicken every Thursday. That's the law, folks. It doesn't protect the hens. It organizes dinner for the wolves, and then they hand you a constitution or a law book and tell you this is sacred. This is the foundation of your society. You read it, and it sounds nice. It says you're equal, you're free, you're protected. But the minute you try to actually use those words in real life, you find out it's like trying to use Monopoly money at the grocery store. Looks official, but it won't buy you anything. So don't let anybody fool you into thinking laws are your friend. They're not your friend. They're the rules of the game, and it's not your game. You're just playing in it. The people at the top, they're the ones keeping score, changing the rules, moving the goalposts, and telling you to play fair while they cheat with both hands. That's the law. It doesn't protect you. It protects the scoreboard. And they're the ones who built it. And the punchline is that everybody still calls this a justice. Justice, my ass. It's not justice, it's just business with better stationery.